it was unthinkable that a small, despised movement from a corner of Palestine could move out, to become the dominant faith of the mighty Roman Empire, an empire that was steeped and fiercely defended traditional pagan religions. The spread of the Christian Church in its earliest centuries is one of the most amazing phenomena in all of human history. The Church was considered a religio brava, an illegal and depraved religion. Wave after wave of persecution was unleashed to squash it. At least 2 of the persecutions were empire-wide and intended to destroy the Church. So how did this young fledgling movement make it? The earliest Christians did not have church buildings. They typically met in homes. The first actual church building to be found is at Dura Europo on the Euphrates, dating about 231. They did not have public ceremonies that would introduce them to the public. They had no access to the mass media of their day. So, how can we account for their steady and diverse expansion over the first 3 centuries? After the Apostle Paul, we do not run across many big names as missionaries in the first few hundred years of Christian history. Instead, the faith spread through a multitude of humble, ordinary believers, whose names have been long forgotten. Early Christianity was primarily an urban faith, establishing itself in the city centers of the Roman Empire. Most of the people lived close together in crowded tenements. There were few secrets in such a setting. The faith spread as neighbors saw the lives of the believers close up, on a daily basis. And what kind of lives did they lead? Justin Martyr, a noted early Christian theologian, wrote to Emperor Antoninus Pius and described the believers. "We formerly rejoiced in uncleanness of life, but now love only chastity. Before we used the magic arts, but now dedicate ourselves to the true and unbegotten God. Before we loved money and possessions more than anything, but now we share what we have, and to everyone who is in need. Before we hated one another and killed one another, and would not eat with those of another race, but now since the manifestation of Christ, we have come to a common life and pray for our enemies, and try to win over those who hate us without just cause." In another place Justin points out how those opposed to Christianity were sometimes won over, as they saw the consistency in the lives of believers, noting their extraordinary forbearance when cheated and their honesty in business dealings. Perhaps we can better understand the remarkable spread of the faith by remembering what a jolt it must have been to the Roman world for the early Christians to come teaching about God as our Father. In that world, people felt, like so many do today, they were at the mercy of fate, victims of chance, dependent on luck, their destiny determined by blind astrological forces. By contrast, Christian believers witnessed to a personal God, who could be approached as our Father. This radical idea liberated those who were captive to fatalistic resignation. An indirect testimony to the importance of this is perhaps found in this mysterious Latin word square, that has been found in many places from England to Mesopotamia. 2 were found at Pompeii, which would have to date back to before 79 AD, when the city was destroyed. The Satyr Square is a remarkable ancient inscription containing 5 words read, as a perfect palindrome mirror-like image, not only readable in forward and reverse, also up and down. The reason it is believed to have been engraved by Christians is that the letters unfold as follows. The letters can be understood as the name attributed to Jesus of Nazareth, Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, together with the Latin translation of the name Jesus used to address his heavenly Father, Pater Noster. The word tenet appears to form a cross, a primary symbol of the Christian faith. Christians became known as those who cared for the sick. Many were known for the healing that resulted from their prayers. Christians also started the first meals on wheels. By the year 250, they were feeding more than 1,500 of the hungry and destitute in Rome every day. When Emperor Julian the Apostate wanted to revive pagan religion in the mid-300s, he gave a most helpful insight into how the church spread. This opponent of the faith said that Christianity has been specially advanced through the loving service rendered to strangers and through their care of the burial of the dead. It is a scandal that there is not a single Jew who is a beggar, and that the Christians care not only for their own poor but for ours as well. While those who belong to us look in vain for the help we should render them. Other things that should be noted was that Christianity was the only missionary religion in the Roman Empire. Jews and pagans did not try to convert each other. Christianity offered equal status to women, who had very low status in Roman society. Christianity was a text-driven religion. Texts are a powerful way to spread, unify, and preserve religious movements, and the pagan world had few of any importance. And finally, after Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity, whole villages thought it best to convert to Christianity, and entire cities of barbarians converted with their leader, when their settlement was subsumed in the Roman Empire. On the surface, the early Christians appeared powerless and weak. They were an easy target for scorn and ridicule. They had no great financial resources, no buildings, no social status, no government approval, no respect from the educators. And after they became separated from their first-century association with the Jewish synagogues, they lacked institutional backing and an ancient tradition to appeal to. But what finally mattered is what they did have. They had a faith. They had a fellowship. They had a new way of life. They had a confidence that their Lord was alive in heaven and guiding their daily lives. These were the important things. And it made all the difference in laying a Christian foundation for all of Western civilization.